Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater with Issues and Answers, and we are continuing our interviews with gubernatorial candidates. I'm pleased that all the candidates who are qualified to be on this June 2nd primary have accepted our invitation and have been guests on Issues and Answers, and I have another guest for you today. Remember, the primary is June 2nd, and everybody gets to vote. If you're Republican, Democrat, declined to state, or an independent, you get to go to the polling place and ask for a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. So again, independents and declined to state, first time in the history of New Mexico, your voice will be heard. And who are you going to be voting for? Well, a gubernatorial candidate. We're interviewing people on Issues and Answers for governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, treasurer, and land commissioner. And today I'm proud to introduce you to Sam Bregman. He is running as a Democrat on the Democrat ballot for the primary on June 2nd, and he wants to be your next governor. So stay with us as we meet Sam Bregman right after this. You perhaps have heard of Sam Bregman. He is a University of New Mexico law student, graduate. He has been a prosecutor, attorney in Albuquerque, Bernalillo County for 30 years, and he is currently the district attorney in Bernalillo County. He was appointed by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, and then he won his re-election for that position. You perhaps have heard him in the news talking about trying to find out and figure out and fight the violence in search of teens creating crime in our state and violence. Just recently, even Las Cruces, a 13-year-old allegedly killed another 13-year-old. So Sam Bregman will be talking to us about that position and also about affordability in New Mexico. How can we make the state more affordable? Also about access to health care, about our taxes. Would he want to raise our taxes or maybe not? So please, that's all I'm saying, because Sam Bregman, you take it away and share with the audience your views on all these topics.
How are you?
Great.
It's great to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity.
Isn't it wonderful that this station is offering a half hour to candidates?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's really important. I think voters need to know what their vision of the candidates are for the future of New Mexico. So this is a great opportunity. I've been traveling all over this big, beautiful state. It is an amazing place. It's got so much natural resources, the best food in the world, but most importantly, the best people in the whole country. I'm convinced of it. Hardworking, but we've never lived up to our potential. Never in New Mexico. We have so much opportunity. I'm so excited about the future, but we haven't done things we're supposed to be doing. We cannot be first in crime and 50th in education. We can't
repeat that, Sam.
First in
crime.
And 50th.
The worst in crime.
And 50th in education. And obviously those two are also related. Obviously we know that.
And this has been happening, though, Sam, for 30 years. I've been doing this show for over 30 years, and we've talked about the same thing for 30 years. How can things change? How can they change in the state of New Mexico?
We need leadership that's results oriented. I mean, I'm 100% committed to that. I don't need this job. I want this job to improve the quality of life of New Mexicans. Listen, I've been blessed. I've been able to raise a wonderful family in New Mexico with 3 adult children. I'm married to the same wonderful woman for 37 years. I have 4 grandchildren, all under the age of 4. I know what it's like to have an opportunity and be able to provide for your families. I want every New Mexican to have that opportunity. We talk about crime and education, the 4 main issues this campaign's running on. Crime, education, the healthcare crisis that New Mexico is in right now, and economic opportunity development, which of course includes affordability issues. These are what people talk about at the breakfast table, and what they talk about with their friends.
I'm sorry, you open the paper, you hear the radio, TV, crime. I mean, crime. How often do we have that? But again, of course, the affordability issue.
Yes.
And those who need access to health care. Yes, all of those we're facing, but we've been facing for generations and decades.
You're right, Diana. I will tell you, though, overall, when it comes to crime, just to kind of sum that up for a second, we have a crime problem in New Mexico that's not acceptable. I will tell you overall, though, as the district attorney, in the last 3 years, and I see what's coming across my desk, things are starting to get better, except for one category, which is going in the absolute wrong direction.
Still going in the teen crime,
It's
teen violence.
juveniles, violent with guns crime. It's going in the wrong direction. I've recommended, and I hope to be able to, as the next governor, really have an impact on our children's code. It needs updating. It hasn't been updated since 1993. That was before the iPhone was even invented. I mean, there's real things we need to do.
But you've been working now the problem has been in Bernalillo County, but you've traveled the state and you're finding out it's not just.
It's not just. Listen, you go to Española, the drug problem there continues to ravage that community. Las Cruces with the juvenile crime is out of control.
So you've been working on this, you've held news conferences, you've come up with some things for Bernalillo County.
Yeah. We need to do it at a statewide level. We need a lot of focus on this and a sense of urgency because we're losing too many kids to gun violence, either in prison or because they've lost their lives, because the first thing a kid does now when they get into an argument is pull out a gun.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. Education, same thing. We cannot continue to. It's a disservice to our children.
Well, people don't want to move to our state, and those in our state don't want it for their
And
children.
that takes you right to health care, because if we want to get doctors here, and we have a lot of things we can do, because it's got to be urgent, we have to have a sense of urgency.
System, they want to have safety for their kids.
Exactly. They're educated. They don't want to move.
So back to the kids, what do you think? What's the root of it?
With the kids, of course it's an education.
The breakdown of the family?
Well, it's some, but listen, I don't.
But they're not fist fighting anymore. You know, as kids, that you would brawl and fight. You know, when you were a kid, of course you would fight.
No, and if you brought a gun, you were considered a wimp. What are you doing? You're crazy. What are you doing bringing a gun? Now it's the first thing they go to.
So what do you think the reason? I mean, you've studied this. What is the reason behind this?
It's a gun culture, but it's social media. Look, they get a gun, they take a picture with it, holding up a gun. They think they get some likes. That's how I get popular. Then they elevate it. Then they go down, get in the car, and they go down the road and they fire out the window. They take a video of that, and then kids like that. I mean, kids make mistakes, but then when you inject a gun into it, and right now, young people, 15 years old, can go on a website and find someone to buy a gun from within a couple of hours. And they go down the street corner.
And they know how to do it better than you and I know how to do.
Well, it's crazy.
So the code, the children's code you've been working on?
Yeah, the children's code is something we need to update. The recommendations have been to the legislature. I want to accomplish that as your next governor. I think it's really, really important. I will also tell you, education, healthcare is a huge issue right now in this state. Listen, everybody in this country wants more doctors, every state. We're the only state in the country that's losing doctors. And we just had the legislature and the governor signed some medical malpractice legislation. That's an important first step. But we've got to do away with gross receipts tax on medical services. Yeah.
We're one of the only few states that
only
one of two states that charge.
Us in Hawaii.
And the doctors eat that. And
They have to. Because Medicaid won't allow you to pass on a tax, for example, on top of it. You can't tax.
So our personal doctors are losing 8% of their salary to taxes.
In other words,
a sales tax, meaning, you know, when you go buy a dress, you got to pay, okay, do I buy that or not for 8%? But when you have to see your doctor, they are still charged the 8% gross receipts tax. I'm not paying it, but they are, and they probably don't like that.
And you can make 8% more in another state right next to us. So, you know,
that's
so every year you practice medicine in the state of New Mexico, we should reduce a year of your medical school debt. Every year you practice medicine in New Mexico, we should reduce a year of your medical school debt. And yes, we're treating doctors special, but we need them.
Yeah.
We're short 6,000 nurses as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we need more residents. We need tax credits for if you practice in a rural or underserved area. These are things.
The legislature has been working on these things for years, though.
But we haven't been able to really get across the finish line. We only belong to 2 of the 8 interstate compacts, and that was just last year. That we need to do all of the interstate compacts, for example.
And that means if you come to the state, you can use your license from your previous state to practice here immediately. You don't have to wait and go through all that red tape that they don't like to. A lot of military families come here, and a spouse might be in the medical profession, but they can't practice.
Right, that's
silly.
But
how can you, as governor, get this passed when the legislature has not for
It's called leadership. It's called working with legislature. It's called having conversations. It's called using all my charm. Right?
But they do say there's a lot of criminal justice lawyers in the legislature who perhaps don't support some of these things because it affects
You're talking about specifically trial lawyers. Listen, I believe, and I've practiced in a courtroom for 30 some years. I believe in the right to make sure we can have people who are compensated when they're hurt to no fault of their own. I absolutely believe that. But there are so many things we can do better. For example, the things I just listed, but tax credits for medical malpractice premiums. That's kind of a no-brainer to me. Why not treat them special? Why not incentivize our tax code to bring business in? We should be doing it with small businesses as well.
We've done that a lot. The previous administrations have done that, given tax breaks. They moved into Bernalillo County, Albuquerque. They get the tax break and move out.
Yeah, well, we can do better. We can do a lot better on that. And then you just talk about affordability. Let's just mention that for a second. You know, what's going on in the Middle East with that war, regardless of your thoughts on the war, let me just say that everybody knows the cost of gasoline is going up. I mean, it's not just gasoline, it's diesel too, which is it's what all these trucks that deliver the groceries, our groceries are going up as well because of it. And we have to make sure that we give some relief to folks. Now, the interesting thing about New Mexico is because we're such a large oil and gas provider.
Second largest
in the country. That's exactly right. And because of that, when the price of gas goes up, we make more money as a state. And it's going to be because the spike in oil right now, it's going to be between $500 million and $1.5 billion, I say, because of all the people that are getting really, hurt at the gas pump at the grocery store. Let's give that money back to them. Let's give every single person, every family that makes $200,000 or less, every family member gets a $500 check. Let's help offset that. I mean, it is the people's natural resources that are providing that revenue, so let's make sure we give it back to them. There's
in a check, how about reducing taxes has an effect on everybody? I mean, a check takes money, it takes time to produce, and takes state government workers to generate a $500 check. What about a tax, lowering taxes on these families?
I actually think that when you give it back to them in a stimulus check, you do it faster than they can get it back in some kind of tax credit or anything like that. I really do believe that.
But I'm thinking if we lower taxes, that will continue longer than a $500
I can
check.
tell you,
because we know the oil and gas industry produces billions, $6 billion of our state government and our education comes from our oil and gas industry. Our royalties on our oil and gas that we all own as New Mexicans. But that's a lot of money. I mean, we have a lot of money from that industry. Why do we need a gross receipts tax? Why do we need an income tax? Sam Bregman, you probably know this, a lot of other gas and oil producing states, like Texas, our neighbor next door, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, they have very low or no state income tax. And this is tax time, and I'm saying, why do we have a state income tax when we have the oil and gas industry?
You mentioned a very good point. The oil and gas industry provides for half of our state budget. It's $1 billion a year for education. It provides 100,000 direct and indirect jobs for our citizens right here. It is an amazing thing we have. But I will tell you at the same time, because of it, we have $65 billion in wealth fund. It's the second largest wealth fund in the entire country.
$65 billion. And that's for future generations.
Yes.
The land grant permanent fund.
Yes.
But for future generations.
And it's trying to diversify so that we don't rely all on oil and gas. We make money on that money, and that's helpful.
That's
helpful. So I'm not talking about raiding the Treasury, but I am telling you this right now. There is no reason that our people should be taxed 1 cent more than what they are right now. There's no reason at all. We should be able to do really well, and we should use those funds in the ways that are practical, reasonable, and prudent to make sure that we're investing in our economic development for the future and with businesses. For example, when you talk about energy, oil and gas, second largest state producing of oil and gas in the country. But renewables, we have as much wind and solar. Just go out on a March day and you'll know how much wind and solar we have, right? We have great opportunity. I'm someone who's all the above. It's oil and gas, it's wind, it's solar, it's geothermal, it's hydrogen. We have so much opportunity when it comes to energy. And why that's so important is because it'll help us when we are developing our economy to match the times that we're going to live in, and that's the high-tech world and the opportunities we're going to have in New Mexico for that. You know, quantum computing is going to make our iPhones look like a horse and buggy compared to a Lamborghini in 10, 15 years. The technology is going to be so amazing, so fast. We have all the brain power in the world with Los Alamos National Labs, Sandia National Labs, UNM Research, quantum computing, New Mexico State with their physical.
So you want to
labs.
attract more of them here,
Oh,
but they use a
absolutely.
lot of energy and water.
Yes, and let's talk about water for a second. We have the energy, by the way. We need to build out our capacity in our transmission lines, but let's talk about water for a second. Hugely important. It is the most important issue probably that's going to determine the future of this state on how we grow and why it's so important that we provide economic opportunity. Because I know you are, and I feel this way. I am sick and tired of hearing about kids who can't find opportunities here when they in young adulthood and they want to be able to stay here, but there's no opportunity. So they leave. We educate them perhaps. We give them a higher education and then they leave. What are we doing to keep our kids and our grandkids right here in New Mexico? And I think it's really important that we recognize water. I want to make a Water Resources Department a cabinet level position that will encompass the state engineer and the Interstate Stream Commission, but to look at the big picture, how we grow economically, what projects we are going to need a lot of water, and what we do with those projects, whether or not we get them moving or whether or not they affect, because water affects everything, not only our drinking water, not only for the New Mexicans that live here, our acequias all over the state, our tribal interests all over the state, our agricultural community that is a really wonderful community that is water it's relied on water to get this done. And
It's
economic,
critical.
and look, we're suing Texas back and forth all the time over water rights. We've got this Colorado River that every state in this part of the country is fighting over the water in that as well. We've got real problems, and that's why we have to look at the big picture, because it'll determine how we grow, it'll determine whether or not we really are going to succeed.
This may not be a silly, but I'll ask for a friend of mine who always asks me this. We've got pipelines in Alaska for oil. We got them in Wyoming for oil. I'm from Minnesota, which has floods every spring. There's a lot of water up there. Why can't we just pump that water down to New Mexico? I'm just asking that for my friend.
I don't know about up from Minnesota, but I hear about, what about bringing the water out of the Gulf and bringing it up in a pipeline desal, right? I want to touch on this. It's not just fresh water that's going to be the opportunity. What we want to make sure is that we are exploring all of our ability when it comes to water. For example, we sit, and again, natural resource abundancy in New Mexico. We sit on the largest brackish water aquifer in the world. It is an ocean at 3,500 feet below us. There's an ocean. It's not the cleanest water. It's not for drinking. And we all know that. But it can be treated. Desalination, it can be treated to an industrial level so that when we talk about that high-tech stuff, we can use that water. There's already pilot programs across the state that are out there.
Where's the brackish water? Is it just in the southeast, or is
No, it's the whole. It's under the whole state. I mean, there's wells all over.
that could be used
test
for
wells.
these industries who want to come in?
Yes,
here?
exactly. And I think that's really important to recognize. Some people may go, well, we don't want that kind of water. But here's the deal. Let's remember how our city parks and our golf courses right here in Albuquerque are watered. They're watered with treated sewage. It's gray water. That's
I worked as a reporter in El Paso decades ago, and El Paso, Texas, and they had treated water, sewage water for drinking. Wow. And as a reporter, I covered that, and the mayor was drinking it. The city councilors like you were drinking it. And I'm thinking, you know what? I did not drink. But they've been doing that for decades.
We can clean up the water. We know we can, and we have so much of it down below. And the economies to scale and the beneficial use that we can get out of that is going to be huge, and I know it. We just have to have a mindset.
I don't hear too many people talking about that.
Well, we need to talk more about it. It's produced water, it's reused water, it's all the above for use in industrial and use for water that we need for other things other than human consumption in growing our specific crops, right? We can do this. We have to have a can-do attitude in state government. We have to look to the future and say, let's get this accomplished.
Course education, we touched upon in the beginning.
Yes.
Sam Bregman, again, is a Democratic candidate running for governor. He'll be on the ballot on this June 2nd primary, so his name will be listed there. I just want to point out who you are again, Sam Bregman,
thank you.
candidate for governor. Back to education,
Yeah.
we just touched that, it's important. kids can't read, do you support reading by the third grade, requiring them to read? Do you support choice, that parents who are very sad about having to send their child to a failing school can choose something else?
I support public charter schools. I think they're fantastic, they're innovative, they're great. I don't support giving public money for private vouchers. I don't support that. I will tell you though, we can do a lot of things a lot better than we're doing. You'd mentioned third grade reading. We know that if a kid is not reading or writing or doing math at third grade level in third grade, they're going to suffer throughout the rest of their educational system, the educational life.
Yeah.
We need to identify them in first and second grade. We need to identify the problem schools and the problem classrooms. And PED, and listen, this is no attack on our current governor or the executive. I'm not in any way, but I will say we've had 6 different PED secretaries in 6 years. It makes it hard for a continuum of leadership. We know we need to do better on that. But let's have a PED that rushes in with super tutors and master teachers when that classroom is failing. Let's have a school district that's transparent, that sets its goals, and then make sure it's posting how it's doing on those goals so that we can identify.
But we do have the ABC. We're grading our schools. They are failing. I mean, this is happening. And I worked in the legislature for a PED secretary who wanted to require third grade by third grade have these kids read, and the legislature year after year after year said no, we have to promote them despite the fact they can't read because the social stigma regarding holding a child back. I mean, they've been fighting this, Sam Bregman, for years.
Let me say this. We used to compete to see who was 50th, Mississippi or New Mexico, unfortunately. It was a terrible competition.
Thank
but
God
we were
for
in
Mississippi.
It.
Thank
but,
God.
But not anymore.
Not anymore.
Because they call it the Mississippi Miracle. We're still ranked 50th. You know what? They're ranked 13th now. 13th in the country. And the lady that ran all those schools came in and did a presentation. And I will tell you, the number one word that they mentioned was accountability. Accountability for everybody. School districts, accountability for administrators, accountability for teachers. And by the way, we need to pay our teachers the right amount of money so that they are valued. We want great teachers. We should be paying them great. We have the money to do it. Nobody can tell me otherwise.
Say accountability.
And accountability and for
the
parents.
parents.
You didn't let me finish my list. The parents and the kids too. Hold everybody accountable. That's what we need to be doing. And that's all of state government, even getting past education for a minute. We need to hold our kids and our parents and our teachers and our workers and everybody accountable. We need to pay them right. We need to have a working environment that's right. We can do all these things.
Accountability regarding fraud in our government. Again, pointing back to Minnesota, we want the water from there, their rain, their snow melt, but the fraud that they've been experiencing, that they, it's in the news regarding tremendous millions of dollars of fraud. They say, the prosecution in Minnesota is happening. They're saying in California. What about New Mexico? Do we have fraud going on here in our state government?
Well, I think we always can recognize the fact that there are people who are maybe not doing the right thing, but I think that's a very small majority. I don't think there's any major fraud that I know of, and if there is, we investigate and we hold people accountable. I'm a rule of law kind of guy. You break the law, we're going to hold you accountable. And that's just a simple thing. And I will absolutely continue that mindset because I think the rule of law is really important and everybody needs to recognize that, and nobody's above the law.
Sam Bregman, we have just a few minutes left. Wow. I got to ask most of my questions. I got a lot more. I've talked to a lot of young people, their concerns. But in the couple of minutes left, what have I not touched upon that you'd like to share with the viewers out there about you and what you would do for them as their governor?
Well, let me just mention one thing. I wanted to reiterate what you said earlier about the fact that independents now can vote in the election, in the primary. That's the first time in the history of the state. That's really important because independents in declining states have been paying for these elections as well as everybody else. They're taxpayers. And so we want to make sure all of the independents and folks out there know that. We need, I think, and I think most people agree with me, we need leaders who get things done. That's what I've always been about. When I went into the district attorney's office, morale was not was not great when I became district attorney. We've changed that place. We not only are having great results, but we're ranked as one of the top 10 best places to work in the state of New Mexico now. Little old Bernalillo County DA's office, a government agency. I'm very proud of that because we give people what we want to see as results. We let them go do the work. If they have a roadblock, then they come to me. I tell them this is how we move the roadblock and we get moving. Accomplishing things is
Makes
what
you feel good.
it does, and that's why we're in this. I mean, like I said earlier, I don't really need this job. I want to do it because I want to improve the quality of life for New Mexicans, and we can do so much better. We've got to live up to that potential that I talked about to start this.
Accountability and personal responsibility are key. Before we go, something that people are asking you all around the state about your son. You have actually 3 children, so
Yes,
let's
I
talk
do.
about all 3.
Oh, I have the most amazing 3 children. I have Alex, who's a big league baseball player, plays for the Chicago Cubs, a proud New Mexico kid. Played for the Astros, been in World Series, won World Series, been in All-Star games. It's amazing. I have an amazing daughter. But both Alex and his wife have 2 boys. My daughter and her husband have 2 girls. I have 4 kids. My youngest is a manager, little plug, I guess, Petrie Kia dealership here in town, and just got engaged himself. So we are blessed. Our family is doing fantastic. Everybody's doing fine. And I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be able to do this. And it's not the greatest thing in the world to tell your wife of 37 years, hey, I'm going to go out on the campaign trail now for the next year. But we've done that, and she's been very supportive, and I'm very honored to be able to have this opportunity. And I love this state, and I want to see us all do better.
We all want to do better as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Sam Bregman, for
Thank
throwing
you.
your hat. Where is your cowboy hat?
Oh, it's
Have
out in the
somebody asked
car. I don't wear it inside in the studio.
Do you have a ranch? Do you have cattle?
I had a lot of cows, and then the droughts hit, and the grass went away. So of course I had to sell all the. I sold all the cows when the price was down, and now I'd like to get back into it, but it's too expensive to get back into it.
But that's why we miss you with your black cowboy hat.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you again for being a
you.
part of this program, and thank you, viewers, for watching. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.